Welcome to Carl and Heather Present,
the podcast where we dive into the insights, challenges, and humor of being married to someone who is nothing like you.
Are you ready?
Let's go.
Oh, don't you know it's Carl and Heather Present Marriage Podcast.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the podcast. This week, we are glad to present part one of the story of Myles and Carrie Murphy as they shared about marriage and alcoholism.
Join us next week for part two. This is a two-part series, so we're jumping in now with part one.
Welcome, listeners, to Carl and Heather Present podcast, coming to you from the Carl and Heather Present studios, buried deep inside the walls of International Podcast headquarters here in Franklin, Tennessee.
Wow.
Yeah.
It keeps getting better.
I am thrilled to report that even though the podcast has been heard in over 20 countries around the world, we have yet to pay a single tariff.
Ooh, a tariff joke already.
Pretty good, yeah.
We're diving in early.
Starting hot. Babe, how you doing?
I'm good. We're here to have Easter. I love Easter.
Oh,
I love Easter because of Cadbury eggs. Right, not the big ones, but the little ones. The little chocolate, y'all know
ones
what I'm talking
with the
about?
shell.
Crispy shell.
Yes, addictive.
Pastel. And then I love looking at the little girls' outfits on Easter morning at church. And it's funny because here you never know if it's going to be like, will they have a winter coat on top of it? Or will it be just, cute Easter?
Who
so
knows?
anyway.
Roll the dice. You don't
Easter
know.
is the Super Bowl of Christianity. That's what they say.
Yeah. Okay. You feel that way?
No,
Worship
I don't.
leader?
I
No.
think it's done.
Okay. It's done. Anyway. Yeah.
You can't, because, there's always a loser on the Super Bowl.
Oh, is that like, did you just Jesus juke me?
Yes.
Okay.
There's a loser on Easter,
Felt like
too.
it.
Who's
It felt
the
like
loser?
it, didn't it?
Satan himself.
Oh,
Down with you.
Okay. Well, as you can already tell, we have some guests today.
Yes,
we'll
we
introduce
do.
them in a
Okay.
minute.
Yeah.
Let's do some quick listener comments from Facebook. Shane said this. You guys were so awesome at the weekend to remember in Newport, Rhode Island. Love your faith and insight. It made my wife and I closer than ever. Even though I thanked you both then, I feel like I need to thank you again on Facebook.
Oh, that was nice.
Thank you, Shane. Yeah, we did a weekend to
thoughtful.
remember in Newport, Rhode Island, which if you've never been to Newport, Rhode Island,
Is it the best?
10 out of
It's the
10.
best.
All right.
Yeah.
I thought I was neutral on it. I didn't think
Yeah.
it would be good or bad.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
It was
we loved it.
go.
beautiful.
You can
and
go-
apparently Maine loved you, too. So,
well, so did Rhode Island.
Yeah.
Did I say, wait, what did you say?
She said they loved you too,
Oh, I
not
thought
Maine.
she said Maine.
Oh, yeah,
I heard
Carl.
Maine.
I said they.
I heard.
TH.
Did you say Maine?
No,
Maine.
go back.
There were some people from Maine. I mean, because it's so small. Everything, New England is so small. People are coming from Long Island, right?
No,
Maine.
do not
all the
do an
places.
She's so
impression.
I'm sorry, I'm not
sweetly
gonna do it.
covering for me.
I know. Well, anyway. All right. Okay.
Okay.
Let me do one from YouTube.
All right.
At T Vincent 1650. Maybe we know who this is. I don't know.
Maybe. Ooh.
Talking about a song that Shaylee came and sang on the podcast.
Our friend Shaylee
Yep.
O'Neill.
You guys know Shaylee.
Yeah, her new
And,
song.
Yep.
Shaylee
Hurricanes
Simeone.
and Harbor Lights.
Hurricanes and Harbor Lights, yes.
And he said, I think this song will help a lot of folks wrestling with the tension of real life and real faith. Thanks for the podcast. Yeah.
It's good.
So that was cool.
You can
Yeah.
listen to Hurricanes and Harbor Lights by Shaylee Simeone on Spotify,
Yeah.
Apple Music,
That's
anywhere. Or you can catch an amazing rendition of it on episode 11 of the podcast.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yay.
Let's
Okay.
go.
Hey, if Carl and Heather Present has been a gift to you, listener, take a second to like and follow and leave us a review.
Yeah. And your support helps us to connect with more couples who are ready to grow and thrive together on purpose.
So go ahead and do all the things. Write a little review. Send this episode to a friend.
Yep.
Maybe that needs a little encouragement today.
Yeah. And thanks for being on this journey with us.
Well, I'm married to you, so
I know. Well, I'm talking to married listeners,
Oh,
not just
okay.
you.
All right.
Yeah. Listeners too. So anyway,
All right. Today we're excited to have power couple
power couple.
Myles
Right?
and Carrie Murphy.
Boom.
They have
So
been
fun.
married for 8 years, 9 this
In
June.
June.
What
Yeah,
day
yeah.
in June?
27.
June 27th.
June 27. 9
awesome.
years. Hey, kids. Anybody can throw a wedding. It's hard to
Anybody
stay
can.
married for
Right.
9
Right.
years.
Right?
Myles works at BF Myers Furniture. I need to talk to you about some deals later in Franklin. And Carrie and I used to be on staff at a church together. Carrie is now a Nashville-based Christian comic featured on K-Love On Demand, performing live across the country. Welcome, Myles and Carrie.
Yeah.
So happy to be here.
So glad to be here. We love you guys.
Aw.
We love what you're doing with the podcast. We love following you. I so respect the ministry y'all have together. And I remember at one point, I might be like already saying too much for this podcast, but when we worked together at a church, Myles saw how you guys parented from afar. And without even knowing either of y'all personally, he was like, they're like the best parents I can think of or imagine. Like, just out of the blue. Like, we have respected you guys for so many years. And so it's just a great privilege. We are humbled to be here. And also happy to get to know those listening that we don't see right now.
Yeah.
But so glad to be here with y'all.
No, this is really special. I'm a fan and love every single person at this table.
Aw.
It's so exciting. I'm just excited to get into this with you.
Welcome.
Well, thank you. Hey, well, so 9 years this June. How did y'all meet?
Yeah. We met in Nashville.
Okay.
We had both moved out of the same city in Virginia, in Lynchburg, Virginia, within 6 months of each other and didn't know it. Turns out our parents lived about 2 miles away from each other, but we were at a game night in Nashville. And I remember I walked in and I saw this very handsome man by the bar. And that man stepped away and there was Myles.
Very good.
I'm totally kidding. I did see Myles at a bar. He was holding a glass of whiskey in his hand, and I thought he looked like a culmination of every childhood crush I had. And I fell in love with him like right when I saw him.
Yeah.
Like it was love at first sight, for sure. I was just
What about you,
he's
Myles?
mine.
Did you see her as well that same night? I mean, did you recognize her and notice her and think, man?
I was very self-aware of what I was in that room. And when I approached her, she looked up at me with the sweetest eyes. And I immediately went, nope, nope, I won't ruin this. I need to go to the other side of the room. And I was running from her for the rest of the evening because the softness, the sweetness, you want to jump in it. You just fall into it.
Cool.
She turned to me with the sweetest and stuck her hand out. And I go, hi, I'm Myles. And Carrie goes, hi, I'm Kilometers. And then I ran away.
And he still married me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you really say that?
I did.
That is-
Because this is why that day, and this is like, I wasn't walking with the Lord at this point very closely. We were both, our story, when we collided, we were both in trash pits at the time of our lives, like just trash fires, whatever you want to call them. So we met, and what was the question?
Well, you were saying like you said he still married you, and so what? Like,
No, I said, did you say kilometers?
Kilometers.
Is that-
Oh, yeah.
Is that what you
So
said?
Why'd you say
even
that?
though I was at a bad time, the Lord can still speak to you whenever he wants to. And even if I don't want to hear it, he can come through or whatever. So he told me I was meeting my husband that night. Like I went in with confidence of like, I'm meeting my person. And then I saw him and I was like, it was just a knowing of like, this is it. Like you're God's person for me.
Wow.
But he was running away from me, like he said.
I love that. But you caught him, or he caught
okay,
you, or something.
I mentioned
She
that.
kidnapped me.
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
But I'm
I
not.
did. I
Our
kidnapped
first
him for our
date, she
first
kidnapped
date.
me.
I did, but it's a whole nother story we'll get into. But the significant thing I remember was how handsome he was, the fact that I fell in love with him right away, and also the fact that the first time I ever saw him, he was holding a glass of whiskey. And for the beginning of our relationship, for the first almost 10 years of our relationship, the whiskey was in 99% of our photos. Like, it really didn't leave his hand. And so, like, when I think back at it now, I'm like, wow, it was really from day one that it was you, me, and whiskey. Like, for the long haul.
That's what I wanted to get into.
Yeah.
And that's why, well, there's a lot of reasons why we wanted to ask you guys on the podcast. But I remember not too long ago, I mean, maybe a couple years back, I saw you, Myles, and I hadn't seen you in a minute. And as soon as you walked up to me, you looked different, and very different. And you're a lean guy already, but I noticed you dropped some weight. You had a different look in your eye. And I said, dude, you look great. What's going on? And you just straight faced told me, he's like, man, I quit drinking. I got sober. And I want to talk to you guys about that story. Yeah. You guys have been married almost 9 years, as we've said. And what you said is, for 10 years of that, or 10 years of your dating relationship and over the relationship, there was this other piece, unpersonified third party
absolutely
present that was impacting your relationship and different things like that. And so I just want to get into it. I want to trust the Spirit. I want to hear the story, not only of how you guys got started, but how it's going in we had a great conversation before we hit record, and we're just trusting the Spirit to lead us in talking about it.
Yeah. So it's speaking of that, at what point in your relationship did you realize, and was it different for each of you, but at what point did you say, hey, this is a problem for us? And was it at the same time? Was it at different times? Was it throughout the relationship? Talk a little bit about that.
Well, like I said, I was self-aware night one. I knew it was a monkey on my back to get under control.
Okay.
That was a very private fight.
Yeah.
That she's not allowed in on. That's my thing. And so I wouldn't, you weighed in for sure, trying to get me to wrangle it in. But that influenced that out. That didn't feel as much. It was an entity that I was toe to toe with.
Yeah.
On a daily, moment to moment basis.
Yeah.
I mean, disguised as a friend.
Sure.
Okay.
And my whole history is abusive relationships. So it's just another one. I'm very practiced at abusive people. And it's okay. I can work with this. And yeah.
So to set things up, at that time where we met, which this is a marriage podcast, so we're looking at all of this through the lens of our marriage. Sure. And I'd just gotten a new job at a church. So I've somehow slipped through the cracks at this place. I mean, I remember feeling so unqualified just because, like I said, at that time, both Myles and I were a mess. He wore the alcoholism banner, but I had my stuff too, So anyways, I'm working for a church. I'm growing. I'm being developed, doing the Jesus thing. And then Myles is working at the largest liquor store in Tennessee as a spirits manager. So a running joke for a while was we're both in the spirits business. And it was always the juxtaposition of this shiny, happy Jesus life, which was very genuine. But I used to say I went to work at Disney World. It was just a very safe place. Meanwhile, Myles is not at a place like that. He is at a downtown liquor store. And I think for a long time, because when I met Myles, he was in the spirits industry. For me, it was this is a part of his job that he takes home with him, that he just can't really separate work from personal life. But it was always a dance of okay, Myles, I have this work event I need you to come to, and he'd come with whiskey on his breath. And I think for a while it was, we normalize things. I normalize things. And I would say enabled. But while I was working there, I feel like my focus for his drinking was you're making me look bad. you can't show up smelling like whiskey. You can't cost me my job. You can't tell my like, what am I supposed to tell my coworkers why, you aren't here? So like, in processing all of this, like just thinking about this podcast, I started going back and like, man, I was very much like optics focused for so long, like not really even seeing the problem for what it was, but seeing like, oh, this is just ruining my reputation here. So that's kind of where we lived, in the shuffle of like, he would be drinking a lot. I came from a home that we didn't drink at all. So I've never lived with someone that drank alcohol. So like to go from, I don't have any like measurement of like 3 bourbons is a lot or whatever. I'm not in the mix. So like, I didn't really recognize this is not normal to have 5 bourbons at night. I'm just
She's not counting it.
I'm not counting it.
I'm a
Right,
very
right.
functional alcoholic. Being a functional alcoholic, like being in my own affair with this thing, there is a very conscious level of protection, which is, I know I can't get, but so whatever, because I got to protect you and we can't be split up. So that is a very real dance that's happening. I don't know how that's 2 years sober and reflection.
Sure.
In that dance, I don't think you could see it that way. I don't know that I would see it that way.
But like that's a very helpful insight though, that you can see it that way now, because to personify it like that, it's like it's like a mistress almost, or something like
she
that.
needed a seat at the table.
Yeah.
They were going on vacation with us. They're going wherever I go. They need to be thought about. Do not forget about them.
Yes.
Wow. And it was, it fits, you build it in and it's routine and you don't even know.
So you guys, it sounds like, got started in this relationship with this thing present. And I mean, the conversation about optics, I totally understand.
Yeah.
I totally understand, especially being somebody in ministry. Like the dark shadow side of somebody working at a church is like optics are a big temptation.
Big.
To be vulnerable and really just open yourself up.
Yes.
Well, you're also risking your livelihood.
Yes.
Different things like that. So the temptation to get the right optics is there. So you guys go, and then you, just like anybody that's navigating some kind of relational tension, you learn to do the dance. And you get into the thing and you just start going.
Yeah.
Well, and I'm with my mistress. Alcohol, she's telling me that I can't do it without it.
Right. Yeah.
So like it's my livelihood too. To like getting sober, well, you can't do what you do.
It's like being working at a church, but not
Right.
being a Christian.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Like I can't not practice what I'm preaching. Like I don't know.
Dude, I get it. No, that's really.
Yeah.
So you guys get into this dance, and then tell me about some of the lows. Like maybe tell me about some lows where you started realizing I'm being lied to. I'm under the influence of more than just alcohol. There's something spiritually dark that's got its hooks in me, and I need. Tell me some of those. When those realizations started happening.
Well, that realization comes when I get what I want. At the culmination of getting what I want, I have a day off by myself and a bottle to myself. All right, well, that's a whole bottle of medication. I'm about to not feel all the things I feel because I'm free to consume all of this.
Right.
Consuming that, I only feel worse. This only feels even worse. How is the main thing I want to do feel so terrible? And so you're spinning in that depression. Like you're like the best I feel, I'm sobbing, lost in this trauma memory or whatever. A lot of self-pity.
Yeah. Okay.
You're like just feeling helpless in the messy mess that I am. And
Carrie, if you would see Myles like that, what was your reaction?
Well, like Myles said, he was a functioning alcoholic.
Yeah.
For all of our relationship, I would not have called him an alcoholic. because he told me he wasn't, and I believe him. And I never, ever understood fully what a functioning alcoholic could be, because, like, he could hold his liquor. Like, he could be, we would go out with friends, and he would drink twice as much as everyone, but you wouldn't even know. I mean, unless you were watching him and counting, like, if you were...
He wouldn't seem twice as drunk as every...
No, not at all. Like, he was very good about hiding it, and so I think that made me... I mean, I look back, and it's one of those things, I didn't see it either, and I kind of kick myself of, like, man, my husband was hurting so much, and I didn't see it, I didn't fix it earlier, I didn't do more. So, and for me, the hardest part was just feeling like, because to me, it was his bad habit. It's like, he just drinks too much, right? It's just like, oh, he just drinks a little too much. And for me, it was, he'd come home, we'd be together at the end of a day, and I would be in the mood to be together and talk and all this stuff. And I just remember thinking, like, why does he never want to hang out with me? Mm-hmm. Like, why is us being together something that makes you want to just escape? And so it was like, man, it must suck to live with me if every waking moment you're trying to, like, not be here. Mm-hmm. And it was hard because even though I didn't know he was an alcoholic, I could see how much depression and pain he was drinking away. And I think the reason why we came out the way we did was because I understood the why of his drinking. Because when we met, like I said, we were both dumpster fires. Yeah. And we both had these huge suitcases of trauma. Mm-hmm. And so together we've been unpacking and healing. Mm-hmm. So the alcoholism, or the heavy drinking, as I would have called it, was like a byproduct of all this stuff you've been through. Right. So I actually had a lot of empathy, but it was just hard seeing him so sad. We were just surviving day to day. And looking back, I was trying to think, I think I treated his alcoholism like I went through it like a grief. Like, there were some times where I was in denial, sometimes where I was bargaining with him, literally. Like, I gave many ultimatums. Wow. And then, eventually I moved to a place of acceptance where clearly I'm throwing stuff on a wall. This is not helping him at all. He's not doing anything because I want him to. And so we just, fell into the trap of just normalizing, hiding, until...
Yeah, was there a tipping point?
Yeah, there was a tipping point.
I wouldn't call it a tipping point as much as... Like, there wasn't an instance that happens, but I think it felt like she was, like, it wasn't, alcohol isn't at all what she's thinking about. She's really... You're not doing well.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Like, you're not doing good.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think you heard about On Site from a friend.
There was a window that we had. So Myles was let go from the spirits industry. And at the time, worst thing ever,
Was that unrelated to your struggles with alcohol?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Unrelated.
Yeah.
I think he would have been let go earlier if he had stopped drinking alcohol.
Right.
Yeah,
but
that's truth.
He was let go from the spirits industry, and that's when I saw, as the wife, like, this wasn't just your work. Like, because I met him the same time he started that job, so I'm thinking this is all, like, part of the spirits industry package. Mm-hmm. So, like, when that gets removed, and I'm like, oh, you're still drinking a half gallon of whiskey every 4 days or whatever it was, like, this is a lot. And then without the stability of your 9 to 5, it was like he just went on a nosedive. Like, all the things that he had been, like, keeping up, it just all went down. And it was like, okay, I've got to do something. My husband's dying, emotionally, physically. And so that was, for me as the wife, when I went, okay, I've got to do something or else he's going to die. Yeah. Like, he's going to die. Mm-hmm. And so we heard of a place called On Site through my friend Rachel Darter. and it's basically a very intense therapy retreat. And I mean, you're welcome to share more about it, but very courageously he went and did that. And
It was a desperation thing. I mean, I knew. I knew I was helpless, and this was a trauma therapy that I think the spirit must have moved. It made sense. I did it to appease her. I did it as like, I can't do anything good as a husband. She wants you to do this. You can do this. And so, I mean, it took courage to do that for sure.
He didn't stop drinking after that. So he went to on-site and he came back, and it had helped tremendously with his depression, with his processing his past, with a lot of things. But the drinking was still present. And I remember when he came back from on-site, I don't know if you remember this, but he came back and told me, I went to on-site, there was an AA meeting, I went and learned I'm not an alcoholic. So this was like 8 years in. I'm like, see, you know, he's not an alcoholic. We were both living under this lie, even though it was so, like, looking back, so amazingly obvious. Like, what gave it away? All the booze. All the booze. Constantly in your mouth and in our house.
Yeah.
But yeah, he came back and he was still drinking, and which I didn't like send him to on-site going, you better come out and not drinking.
Right.
Because we are the most conservative, legalistic people or whatever. And I was like, maybe now, you know, he's healed, he can come back and drink normally, you know.
Sure.
And I'm like, well, he's better emotionally. It's going to have an impact. And you can pick the story up from there.
So I get back, and the trauma therapy was excellent. Absolutely excellent. But that was my friend. So I was excited to get back to my friend too. Just not be so desperate for it, to have a better relationship with it. Which is lying to myself. That's a slippery slope. I can have two. I can enjoy this or that, and there's no deal to be made there. Period. I did a lot of deals, and none of them were for me. So I'm just, it's not so much there's a really embarrassing moment or a real bad moment or a sick moment or alcohol poisoning. There isn't that, but I am becoming more and more aware that I'm back to this dingy habit. And this is a road. I see it as sort of a cul-de-sac that I'm walking down. I can see it where it's ending, and I can't stop walking. I'm going to get to the end of it. There's no other, and that's just that realization. I started to see that more and more clearly, and desperately. I can't quit. I'd stop. That doesn't even seem like an option.
Can you just pause there, because he said it didn't even seem like an option. Never once did I pray, Lord, make Myles not an alcoholic. I never once prayed, Lord, I want Myles to set down the bottle and never pick it up again. Like, him not having a whiskey. Like, the first time I saw him, he's holding a whiskey. It was just attached to his arm. And people in Nashville knew him as the bourbon guy. Yeah. Most people, if you said his name at that time, it's associated like, oh, the whiskey dude. And so it was like, it went before him. It went after him. It was his identity to max level. And so, like, him not drinking was never on the table for me. It was like, yeah, Myles drinks. And so, keep going with your story, but I'm just emphasizing, like, you were whiskey embodiment for a very long time.
Yeah. It wasn't that it was what I recommended. I did it better than everybody else. I have to be the best, to be able to do that, to be able to make that recommendation, I have to go at this harder, which is not real, but that's how I saw it.
Yeah.
I did see it. It was my identity.
So now it's after on-site.
So it's a year It's about a year after on site. So like there was some relief there, but it builds back up. And I think I'm scared. I think I'm 35, 36, and I'm scared. I can see what's up, and I can see what this girl's way too young to put me in a box, and she's literally going to do that, and I'm going to make her a widow, and that just, like, that, like, all that seemed like outside of myself, I can't do that to somebody.
Sure.
Well, and you'd never planned to live past 30.
No.
All of this was like unexpected territory anyway.
Right. Like, I grew up really rough, and I thought 28 would be amazing. But I never, when I got to 30, I was like, what is all that? I didn't, why are we still here? What's, all right. So I get to this, my sister's dad passes from alcoholism. Early, like 62, I think. And then my grandmother passes, and she's 93. She lived for 30 years without my grandfather. And I saw and knew that loneliness real intimately. I talked to it. And that's a cold hollowness that you just wouldn't. It's not even that I'd wish it on anyone. I don't want to tell you more about it. I don't even want you to know it's that cold and sad. And so I can see I'm going to do that to her. I put together, I'm going to be him, and that's going to, okay. And the Lord, Jesus says, no man comes unless the Father calls him. And I guess he called me because I listened to a sermon by John Piper.
And that's going to be the conclusion of part 1 of Marriage and Alcoholism with our special guest, Myles and Carrie Murphy. Please tune in next week for part 2. This is Carl and Heather Present.